Let me ask you something. Have you ever shared a dream or goal with someone, only to be met with skepticism or doubt? Have you ever done something kind or courageous, only for someone to dismiss it or overshadow it with their own narrative? These experiences can be discouraging, even disheartening. But what if the problem lies not in the people around us, but in the act of sharing itself? The Stoics believe that true strength comes from within, from mastering the art of discernment, what to guard, what to reveal, and what to keep sacred. Today, we'll explore the importance of keeping certain aspects of our lives private. Chapter 1. Guarding your desires and ambitions. Let's start with your dreams and ambitions. Why do you wake up each day? What fuels your actions, your aspirations? These are deeply personal questions, yet many of us are quick to share our answers with the world. We post our goals online, seek validation from friends, and discuss our dreams in casual conversations. But is this openness always wise? The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminds us to be satisfied with our guiding principles and not seek external validation. Why? Because exposing our dreams invites the noise of others, judgments, doubts, and even envy. This noise can disrupt the clarity and focus we need to pursue our goals. When you share your ambitions prematurely, you risk allowing others to influence or redefine them. Imagine planting a delicate seed in a bustling market rather than a quiet garden. How long would it survive amidst the trampling feet and chaos? Your dreams are that seed. They need protection and space to grow, free from the meddling hands of public opinion. Keeping your ambitions private allows you to focus on the process, not the applause. It strengthens your resolve and keeps you aligned with your principles. This is freedom, the ability to act for the sake of the act itself, not for the approval of others. Chapter 2. Mastering struggles and pain. Now let's talk about pain. Life wounds us all. It's an unavoidable truth. But how we handle these wounds defines who we are. Have you ever noticed how some people wear their struggles like badges of honor, constantly talking about their hardships? While sharing pain can sometimes bring comfort, the Stoics believe that constantly broadcasting our suffering gives it unnecessary power. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher who endured exile and personal tragedy, once said, "The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity but not complaining." What does this mean for us? It means that silence in the face of struggle is not weakness, it's strength. When you refrain from sharing every detail of your pain, you create space to understand and master it. Pain spoken aloud too often can grow larger, shaping not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. But when you endure silently, you cultivate resilience. You show the world not through words, but through deeds that you are unbroken. This doesn't mean you should suffer alone. The Stoics valued friendship and community, but even in our closest relationships, we must choose carefully what to share. Strength lies not in seeking pity, but in finding solutions. Silence gives you the clarity to distinguish between temporary hardship and lasting lessons, turning wounds into wisdom. Chapter 3. The power of quiet virtue. Finally, let's explore virtue. Your acts of kindness, courage, and integrity. Think about the last good deed you performed. Did you feel an urge to tell someone about it? Did you hope for recognition or praise? It's human nature to seek acknowledgement, but the Stoics taught us that true virtue requires no audience. Epictetus, another great Stoic teacher, said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." Virtue is not about appearances, it's about authenticity. When you boast about your goodness, you turn a pure act of character into a performance. The world's applause might feel satisfying, but it's hollow if it comes at the cost of your sincerity. Keeping your virtues private protects them from the corrupting forces of pride and ego. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, "When you have done good and another has benefited, why do you look for a third thing besides, the credit for the good deed or a return? The act itself is the reward." Living virtuously in silence allows you to focus on aligning your actions with your principles, not with external expectations. It's about being good, not just seeming good. This quiet integrity nurtures a deep sense of satisfaction that no applause can match. Now, let me begin with a question. How often do you share your fears, opinions, or plans with others? Do you find comfort in opening up, or do you sometimes regret it later when those words are misunderstood, dismissed, or even used against you? These moments teach us an important lesson. Not everything in our inner world is meant to be shared. The Stoics believe that some aspects of our lives, our fears, our future plans, and our private thoughts, are sacred and should be guarded fiercely. By doing so, we fortify our inner fortress, preserving our peace and strength. Now, we'll explore why keeping these aspects private is essential for mastering yourself and navigating life with resilience and wisdom. Chapter 4. Guarding your fears and weaknesses. What is fear? It's a shadow that lingers in all of us, a response to uncertainty and danger. But how we handle our fears defines whether they control us or we master them. Have you ever confided a fear or vulnerability to someone, only to feel exposed or judged? Sharing our fears can sometimes provide relief, but when done indiscriminately, it can have the opposite effect. The Stoics teach us that fears should not be worn like a badge, nor should they be given too much voice. Seneca said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." Life is full of challenges, and fear is a natural part of the human experience. But to dwell on it, or to speak of it constantly, is to let it define us. When we give our fears too much attention, whether by voicing them repeatedly or seeking pity, we allow them to grow larger in our minds. Worse, we hand others the weapons to exploit our vulnerabilities. But when we keep our fears private, we gain the clarity to reflect on them calmly. We can analyze whether they are real or imagined, within our control or beyond it. Epictetus wisely said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." When we face our fears in silence, we learn to master them. This doesn't mean we shouldn't seek help when truly needed. Strength lies in knowing when to ask for support. But the Stoic approach to fear is deliberate and measured. We share only when it serves a purpose, never to seek validation or attention. Chapter 5. Keeping future plans private. Now, consider your future plans, the visions and strategies you hold for the life you want to build. How often do you share them openly? Does it feel empowering to speak of your goals, or does it sometimes lead to disappointment when those plans don't materialize as expected? The Stoics warn us against scattering our energy by prematurely disclosing our plans. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not disturb yourself by thinking of the whole of your life. Let not your thoughts at once embrace all the various troubles which you may expect to befall you." This advice reminds us to stay focused on the present, acting with intention rather than seeking approval for what we aim to achieve. When you share your plans too freely, you invite external influences, doubts, distractions, and even sabotage. Worse, the act of speaking about your goals can create a false sense of accomplishment, lulling you into complacency. It's easy to feel satisfied when others praise your ideas, but speaking is not the same as doing. By keeping your plans private, you protect them. You give them space to grow, like seeds taking root before facing the winds. This doesn't mean you should never seek guidance or collaboration. Wisdom lies in knowing whom to trust and when to share, but the responsibility for your dreams ultimately rests with you. Let your actions, not your words, reveal the worth of your vision. The Stoics valued action over boastfulness. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When you focus on doing rather than talking, you free yourself from the craving for validation. Your success becomes a quiet testament to your effort, not a performance for the approval of others. Chapter 6. Protecting your inner thoughts and opinions. Let's discuss your private thoughts, the judgments and reflections that shape your understanding of the world. How often do you feel the urge to share your opinions or respond impulsively to events around you? Does this always lead to clarity, or does it sometimes create conflict and misunderstanding? The Stoics regarded the mind as a fortress, the one place where true freedom exists. Epictetus said, "Keep your thoughts within your own power. Your mind is your domain." To let others dictate or sway your inner reflections is to surrender a part of your autonomy. Not every thought needs to be spoken, nor every opinion shared. When we openly express every fleeting idea, we risk misinterpretation, criticism, and even exploitation. The world often misunderstands what it cannot easily align with, and by sharing impulsively, we give others unnecessary influence over our inner world. Keeping your thoughts private allows them to mature. It gives you the space to refine your ideas, ensuring they are rooted in reason rather than impulse. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. By exercising restraint, you master the art of reflection over reaction. Silence is not weakness, it's strength in disguise. When you hold back, you not only protect your inner world, but also ensure that when you do speak, your words carry the weight of thoughtfulness and purpose. These principles, guarding your fears, keeping your plans private, and protecting your inner thoughts, are not about isolating yourself from the world. They are about building strength, clarity, and resilience within. By practicing them, you cultivate an inner fortress that no external force can easily breach. The Stoics understood that true mastery comes not from controlling the world around us, but from mastering ourselves. Now, have you ever shared a moment of triumph, only to feel its power diminish the moment it left your lips? Or perhaps you've confided in someone about a deeply personal value, only to see it questioned or misunderstood. These experiences highlight an essential truth. Not everything in life needs an audience. Some things grow stronger, more profound, when kept private. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that certain aspects of our lives, our triumphs, our personal values, and even the intricacies of our relationships, are best guarded. Let us explore why these elements, when kept private, fortify our inner lives and empower us to live virtuously. Chapter 7. Keeping your moments of triumph private. What is the first thing you feel when you achieve something significant? Pride? Relief? The desire to share your victory. It's natural to want others to see and celebrate our accomplishments, but the Stoics warn us against the allure of public recognition. Seneca observed, "Success tempts many to their ruin. Few are able to endure prosperity with dignity." Triumphs, while exhilarating, can be intoxicating. When we broadcast them, we risk shifting our focus from the satisfaction of the achievement itself to the fleeting applause of others. Have you ever noticed how quickly the world moves on after a celebration? The applause fades, the compliments stop, and you're left wondering if the moment meant anything at all. This is why the Stoics advise keeping triumphs private. By doing so, you maintain the humility and discipline that earned you the success in the first place. When we reflect on our victories in solitude, we can truly appreciate their lessons. Did this success come from effort and virtue, or was it a stroke of luck? How can it shape our future actions? These are the questions that matter, far more than the fleeting approval of an audience. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Consider how many before you, after accomplishing their ambition, have departed this life and been forgotten." Keeping our triumphs private not only grounds us, but also protects us from the arrogance and complacency that public acclaim often brings. True strength lies in the discipline to continue working, unaffected by success. Chapter 8. Guarding your personal values and virtues. Now think about the values and virtues you hold most dear. Do you feel the urge to proclaim them, to let others know what defines you? While it may seem noble to share, the Stoics teach that true virtue requires no audience. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Virtue, in its truest form, is diminished when it becomes a spectacle. To boast of your kindness, courage, or integrity is to reduce these qualities to mere performances, seeking approval rather than embodying authenticity. Have you ever witnessed someone declare their goodness only to act contrary to their words? This is the risk of parading virtue. It becomes tied to external validation rather than internal alignment. By keeping your virtues private, you allow them to grow stronger, nurtured by the quiet satisfaction of living rightly. The Stoics believe that goodness does not need a mirror. Marcus Aurelius advised, "When you have done good and another has benefited, why do you still look for credit or a return?" True virtue is its own reward. The applause of the world adds nothing to its value. Moreover, keeping your values private protects them from the corruption of pride. It's easy to believe we are virtuous simply because others say so, but real virtue thrives in the absence of external validation. When you act with integrity, not for others but for yourself, you find a deep, unshakable satisfaction, one that no audience can provide. Chapter 9. Preserving the intimacy of relationships. Finally, let's turn to your personal relationships, the bonds that shape your life. How often do you share the details of your closest connections with others? Does sharing deepen your understanding, or does it sometimes feel like it dilutes the intimacy of those relationships? The Stoics valued meaningful relationships but cautioned against exposing them to unnecessary scrutiny. When we share too much about our relationships, whether it's the highs of joy or the lows of conflict, we risk inviting opinions, judgments, and even interference. Consider a moment of deep connection you've shared with someone. Was it made more meaningful by keeping it between you or by announcing it to the world? The answer is clear. Intimacy thrives in privacy. When we share everything, we lose a part of what makes these moments special, the sacredness of being truly seen and understood by another. Privacy in relationships also protects them from external forces. Others may not understand the nuances of your bond or may project their own biases onto it. By keeping the details private, you preserve the authenticity of your connection, freed from the distortions of outside perspectives. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Do not be overheard complaining about life at court, nor in the country, about the wretchedness of your circumstances." This wisdom extends to relationships. Complaining or oversharing about those closest to us diminishes the sanctity of those bonds. Instead, cherish and nurture them in silence, where they can grow untainted. By guarding your triumphs, virtues, and relationships, you cultivate a life of strength and authenticity. These aspects, when kept private, allow you to grow deeper in understanding and richer in connection. The Stoics believe that not everything valuable needs to be displayed. True mastery lies in knowing what to share and what to hold sacred. As we reflect on these principles, we find the strength to walk the path of virtue, fortified by the quiet power of restraint. Now let me ask you, have you ever wondered why some thoughts feel heavier when shared? Or why certain emotions, once spoken, seem to lose their depth or purpose? This is not a coincidence. The Stoics taught that some aspects of our inner world, our fears, inner dialogues, spiritual beliefs, and even regrets, are better safeguarded in silence. These elements are not meant for the scrutiny of others. They are meant for our growth, reflection, and understanding. So let us explore why keeping these facets private strengthens our character, sharpens our clarity, and helps us walk the Stoic path with resilience and integrity. Chapter 10. Keeping your fears private. What scares you the most? Is it failure, rejection, or perhaps the unknown? Now, imagine sharing that fear openly. Does it empower you, or does it expose you to judgment, pity, or manipulation? The Stoics believe that fears, when spoken carelessly, often grow larger, feeding on the reactions of others. Seneca, who endured personal tragedy and exile, wisely observed, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." Fear is a natural part of the human experience, but how we handle it defines our character. When we voice our fears impulsively, we risk magnifying them. They become stories we tell ourselves repeatedly, giving them power over our actions and decisions. Worse, we may invite others to use these fears against us, but when we face them privately, we gain the space to understand them, to confront their root causes, and to master them. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." By keeping fears to ourselves, we can better discern what is real and what is imagined. This clarity allows us to act deliberately, choosing courage over paralysis. It's not about denying fear, but about transforming it into a force for growth. In silence, fear becomes a teacher, not a master. Chapter 11. Guarding your inner dialogue. Now, consider the conversations you have with yourself, the inner dialogues that shape your understanding of the world and your place in it. Are these meant for others, or are they sacred spaces for self-reflection? The Stoics emphasized that our inner world is our most private domain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To share every thought or opinion is to invite misunderstanding, criticism, and even exploitation. Have you ever shared a half-formed idea, only to have it dismissed or twisted by others? This is why the Stoics urged us to keep our inner thoughts private. By doing so, we protect them from external influence and give them the time and space to mature. Your inner dialogue is where your values take shape, where your dreams are refined, and where your purpose is clarified. It is a fortress of individuality, a space where you can reflect without fear of judgment. By keeping this space sacred, you cultivate autonomy, ensuring that your actions and decisions are guided by reason, not impulse or external validation. Epictetus advised, "Keep your thoughts within your own power." This is not a call to isolation, but to deliberate self-control. When you choose what to share and what to keep private, you maintain mastery over your mind and your life. Chapter 12. Preserving your spiritual beliefs. What role does spirituality or personal belief play in your life? For many, these are deeply personal convictions shaped by experiences, reflection, and faith. The Stoics taught that such beliefs should remain private, not because they are unimportant, but because they are sacred. Spirituality, whether rooted in religion, philosophy, or personal exploration, is an intimate journey. To broadcast these beliefs is to risk reducing them to mere performances, subject to the approval or critique of others. Marcus Aurelius, though a philosopher-emperor, rarely spoke publicly of his own spiritual practices. Instead, he wrote for himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." By keeping your spiritual beliefs private, you protect them from the noise of the world. You allow them to guide you silently, shaping your actions and decisions without the need for validation. Moreover, spirituality often involves questions that are deeply personal and sometimes unresolved. Sharing these prematurely can invite doubt or misunderstanding, which may disrupt your journey. Privacy creates a sanctuary where these beliefs can deepen and grow, untainted by external pressures. Chapter 13. Reflecting on regrets in solitude. Finally, let us turn to regrets. These are the shadows of our past, the moments we wish we could change. Have you ever shared a regret, only to feel more burdened, not less? This is because regrets are deeply personal and often misunderstood when shared. The Stoics did not see regret as a source of shame, but as an opportunity for growth. However, they believed this growth happens in quiet reflection, not in public confession. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now, take what's left and live it properly." When we broadcast our regrets, we risk being defined by them, by others, and by ourselves. People may judge us based on our mistakes rather than our efforts to overcome them. Worse, we may start to see ourselves only through the lens of those regrets, losing sight of the person we are becoming. By keeping regrets private, we create the space to learn from them without distraction. We can analyze what went wrong, why it happened, and how we can avoid similar mistakes in the future. Regret, when held in silence, becomes a tool for self-improvement rather than a weight that drags us down. The Stoics remind us that the past is beyond our control, but the present is ours to shape. By reflecting on regrets privately, we turn them into stepping stones, using them to build a better future. In guarding your fears, your inner dialogue, your spiritual beliefs, and your regrets, you create a life anchored in resilience and authenticity. These elements are deeply personal, meant to guide and strengthen you from within. The Stoics teach us that true mastery comes not from what we share with the world, but from what we safeguard within ourselves. Through silence, reflection, and restraint, we cultivate a life of virtue, free from the distractions and judgments of others. Thank you.